The War Council chamber was dark and cold. The light from the tactical displays cast long shadows across the faces of the alien commanders. General Marcus Webb stood at the center of the room and began to speak. His voice was steady, but every person in the room could hear the weight of bad news. 3 Alliance fleets were destroyed. 8 star systems were lost in just 72 hours. The Vrex Armada was still moving forward. They showed no signs of stopping. The Zethian delegate sat in the corner. His body was made of thick brown scales. His eyes were solid black, and they darkened even more when he heard the news. His scales began to shake. The Kareen hive mind connection flickered on the screens. The translation devices made high-pitched sounds that hurt to hear. The beings, called the Orth, who were normally quiet and strong, seemed smaller now. Even they looked afraid. Ambassador Patricia Holland watched all of this from where she sat at the edge of the council table. She had been sitting there for 6 hours now. She watched the numbers get worse and worse. She watched hope disappear from the faces of these powerful alien beings. She was the human representative here, and she knew what was coming next. The Zethian spoke first. His voice was like rocks grinding against each other. We cannot hold them. Our fleets are destroyed. The Vrex have killed everything we sent against them. We will lose everything. Patricia kept her face still. Her hands did not shake, even though her heart was beating very fast. This was the moment she had been waiting for. This was why she had fought so hard to get humanity into the Galactic Alliance 5 years ago. This was why she had convinced the governments of Earth to spend so much money on a program that nobody was supposed to know about. We still have resources, Patricia said. Her voice was quiet, but it was clear. Resources we have not used yet. Things we have been keeping hidden. The Arth commander turned his massive head toward her. This being was 3 meters tall, and his skin was gray like stone. He spoke in a way that showed no emotion. You speak of human soldiers, Ambassador. We know that humans are brave. We have seen your soldiers fight. But the Vrex Elite Guard is not like anything you have faced. The numbers do not say that humans can win this fight. Patricia did not move. With respect, General, humanity has been very careful about what it shows to the Alliance. We have kept the best things hidden. We have been preparing for this exact situation. We have made things that you have not seen yet. Commander Lisa Turner was standing near the communication relay. She was listening to every word. For 6 months, she had been stationed on this space station. The other aliens thought she was just a liaison officer. The truth was different. She was here to activate Operation Warbeast the moment the word came. The moment was very close now. The Karani hive mind made many voices at the same time. They were discordant, like many creatures speaking at once. What are you saying, Ambassador? What things has humanity made? Patricia turned to look at Lisa. Their eyes met across the chamber. In that moment, Lisa knew that Patricia was ready to tell them everything. Humanity has capabilities that go beyond what we have shown, Patricia said. We have soldiers who are not like normal soldiers. We have made them stronger. We have made them faster. We have bonded them with organisms from our own world that make them something new, something the Vrex has never seen. I am telling this council that humanity is ready to fight this war. We can send soldiers who will change everything. The room became very quiet. This was a big claim. This was a claim that could change everything if it was true. How many soldiers? Asked the Zethian. Patricia did not hesitate. Enough to end this war. Lisa's hand moved very carefully. She touched the communication device that was hidden inside her uniform. The device was the color of skin, and nobody could see it unless they knew where to look. With her fingers, she sent a signal across the stars. The signal went to a place called Station, Kepler 47. It was 3 light years away from where they stood now. The signal was very simple. It was just one word: begin. 3 light years away, in the assembly bay of Station Kepler 47, Colonel Derek Shaw received the message. He was standing in a very large room. The room was so big that it could hold spacecraft. But today, it held something different. It held 12,000 human soldiers. These soldiers were not normal humans. Derek had been training them for 3 years. Each soldier was tall, almost 7 feet. Their bodies were strong in ways that normal humans could never be. Their skin shimmered with light that came from deep inside. The light was soft blue and silver, like the light of distant stars. The shimmering came from the living armor that was bonded to each soldier. The armor had come from a creature that scientists had found on a moon of Jupiter. The creature was not really an animal, and it was not really a plant. It was something in between. Scientists had discovered that when the creature bonded with human DNA, something amazing happened. The human and the creature became one. They moved together. They thought together. They fought together. The result was something new to the galaxy. Something that no other alien species had ever created. Derek looked at his soldiers, and he spoke in a loud voice. It begins. This is why we trained. This is why we suffered. This is why we gave up everything. We are going to change the galaxy today. The 12,000 soldiers began to move toward the transport ships. They moved like one being, even though they were many. They moved like predators that had waited a very long time for the hunt. Back on the council station, General Marcus Webb received a message from Earth's relay. He read it with his eyes growing wider. The specifications were incredible. The power was incredible. The speed was incredible. Patricia watched as the information appeared on all the screens. She watched as the faces of the alien commanders changed. Fear became hope. Despair became possibility. 12,000 soldiers, Patricia said. Each one is stronger than anything the Vrex has. Each one is bonded with a living organism that makes them faster and harder to kill. Each one is equipped with weapons that have been perfected over years of training. They can fight in any place, water or space, heat or cold. They are already moving toward the battle zone. The council chamber erupted into noise. Many languages, many voices, all speaking at the same time. Patricia sat back and listened. She did not say anything else. She did not need to. Lisa Turner left the chamber. She had a war to control. Her soldiers were moving through space toward the place where the Vrex were winning. They were going to change everything. The Vrex commanders far away among the stars had no idea what was coming. They had won every battle for 3,000 years. They had crushed every enemy. They had never lost a war. They had never faced something like a human warbeast. That mistake was going to cost them everything. The human transport ships came out of fold space in perfect formation. There were 40 ships, all moving at exactly the same speed, all in exactly the right position. It was beautiful and terrible to see. Captain Victoria Moore stood in the command center of the lead ship. She could see everything on the screens. She could see the battle ahead. She could see the Vrex forces winning. She could see the Alliance forces dying. All units report ready, said Aaron Crawford. He was her second command, and he was one of the best soldiers Victoria had ever met. 12,000 strong. All soldiers are prepared. All soldiers are eager to fight. Victoria nodded once. She had trained these soldiers herself. Some of them had been with her since the very beginning of the program, 8 years ago. They were not just soldiers. They were something that had never existed before. They were the future of human warfare. The transport ship shook as it got close to the battle station. Through the clear window, Victoria could see the war happening. Alliance fighters were making fast attacks at the Vrex ships. Weapons were firing everywhere. The light of explosions filled the black space. The Vrex were winning. That was clear from every number on the screen. But that was about to change. Admiral Kevin Hayes was waiting in the deployment bay when the first soldiers arrived. He had read all the reports about the Warbeasts program. He had seen all the pictures and the data. But seeing them in person was completely different. They were not human anymore. Not in the old way. They were magnificent and terrible. They were beautiful and dangerous. Each soldier stood nearly 7 feet tall. The living armor covered them from the neck all the way down to their feet. The armor was like a second skin that moved when they moved. It was dark blue and black, with lines of bright silver running through it. The silver light pulsed like a heartbeat. The weapons were part of them. The plasma rifles did not look like guns. They looked like they grew from the soldiers' hands. The blades could move from hidden to visible in less than a second. The weapons were part of the armor. The armor was part of the soldier. "Admiral Hayes," Victoria said. She saluted the old way. "First Warbeast Battalion is ready for deployment. 12,000 soldiers are ready to fight. We will turn this war. We will end the Vrex threat." Kevin returned her salute. He had been a soldier for 40 years. He had seen wars and death and suffering, but he had never seen anything like this. "Welcome to the station, Captain. The Vrex are attacking in 3 main directions. Where do you want to put your soldiers?" Victoria looked at the tactical display for 3 seconds. She did not need to look longer. "The northern direction. The Vrex are trying to go around the Kirani defensive position. If we fight them there, we do 2 things. We protect the Kirani, and we show the galaxy what humans can do." Kevin understood. "The Vrex will send their elite guard against you. The Vrex do not run from battles. They fight to the end." "That is what we want," Victoria said. "We need them to see us. We need them to understand that they have made a mistake." 20 minutes later, the first human soldiers launched into the vacuum of space. They did not move like normal soldiers. They moved like hunters. The armor moved them faster than anything should move. The living armor used gravity itself to push the soldiers forward. The soldiers went faster and faster until they were moving at speeds that would kill normal humans. But these were not normal humans anymore. The Vrex elite guards saw the humans coming. They fired their weapons without any hesitation. The weapons of the Vrex were very powerful. They could cut through metal. They could kill from very far away. They had destroyed every enemy the Vrex had ever fought. They could not kill. Something like a human warbeast. The first human to fight was Marcus Coleman. His name would become famous across the entire galaxy. People would tell stories about him for 1,000 years. But Marcus did not think about that. He only thought about the mission. The Vrex hunters locked their weapons on Marcus. They fired all at the same time. It was a perfect attack. The energy bolts were so powerful that they should have burned through any living thing. Marcus's armor responded before his mind could think. The armor created a shield. The shield appeared in front of Marcus and caught all the energy. The shield did not break. Instead, it changed the energy into harmless particles that floated away into space. Marcus did not wait. He moved forward, moving faster than the Vrex could follow with their eyes. His plasma rifle fired in short bursts. Each burst was perfect. Each burst hit exactly where Marcus wanted it to hit. 3 Vrex fighters exploded. Then 4. Then 5. Marcus had been trained in how to shoot. But more than that, he had human instinct. He fired where the Vrex would go, not where they were. He caught them before they could move. He moved like art and war at the same time. All around him, the other soldiers were doing the same thing. The Vrex tactics were based on mathematics and calculation. The Vrex knew exactly where to move and exactly what to do. But humans moved in ways that mathematics could not predict. Humans thought in ways that were not logical. Humans fought with something inside them that no computer could calculate. The Rex formation was breaking apart. Soldiers were being surrounded and killed. Ships that seemed impossible to destroy were falling. The elite guard of the Rex was being defeated. On the battle station, Admiral Kevin watched the tactical display. He could not believe what he was seeing. The humans were outnumbered. The humans were fighting against enemies that had won 3,000 years of wars. But the humans were winning. "What is happening?" asked the Zethian commander. His voice showed fear and amazement at the same time. "They are human," Patricia said. She was watching the same display. She was feeling the same amazement. They are just human. The Rex elite guard had never retreated in their history. They were bred to fight until they died. They had never known fear. But now they were retreating. They were running. The formations that had been perfect and beautiful were falling apart into chaos. The soldiers of the Rex were dying because they could not understand what they were fighting. The humans did not fight like machines. The humans did not follow set patterns. The humans thought and changed and adapted in ways that were impossible for the Rex to understand. Lieutenant Aaron Crawford watched his soldiers move forward. They pushed the Rex back and back and back. He sent a message to Captain Moore. "Northern sector is under our control. Enemy forces are running. We can advance to the next position." Victoria Moore allowed herself to smile inside her armor. They had fought the Rex elite guard, and the Rex had lost. They had not fought the main Rex army yet. They had not faced the real war, but they would. And when they did, the galaxy would learn the truth about humanity. The Rex Armada, somewhere in the distance, did not know what was coming. They thought they were winning a war. They did not know that the war had just changed forever. They did not know that an enemy they could not understand had arrived. They did not know that humanity had come to the stars, and the old rules of war no longer applied. The news spread fast. Every radio channel, every communication network, every message system was talking about the same thing. Humans were not the weak newcomers that everyone had thought. Humans were fighters who could beat the Rex. Species that had been ready to give up started to hope again. The Arth, who had been preparing their people to leave their home world forever, began sending their remaining ships back into the fight. The Garani hive mind, which had been breaking apart because everything seemed hopeless, started to hold together again. Even the ancient Zethian, who had believed that some wars could not be won, began to believe that maybe this war could be different. The galaxy was changing. And humanity was the reason. Captain Victoria Moore was in the command center of the ship called Meridian. This was a big warship, the kind that could hurt the largest Rex ships. But Victoria was not using it to fight. She was using it to think and to plan. "The Rex are pulling their main forces together," she said to the tactical officers. They were human, and they understood her immediately. They are scared. They are making one last big attack. They are putting all their remaining ships into one group. They want to hit us with everything they have. "How many ships?" asked Aaron Crawford. "All of them," Victoria said. "Everything the Rex have left. They are going to try to destroy us in one big battle. They think that if they can kill me and my soldiers, the alliance will fall apart." The Rex made a mistake in their thinking. They did not understand that humans did not work like other species. When one human died, the others did not give up. When humans lost a battle, they learned from it and fought again. Humans were not like the Rex, who followed orders and patterns. Humans thought for themselves. "How many of our soldiers can we deploy?" asked one of the officers. "All of them," Victoria said. "And we will not just stop the attack. We will end it. We will end the Rex threat forever." The massive Rex flagship was called the Harvester. It was the biggest ship the Rex had ever built. It was more than 2 kilometers long. It was covered with weapons that could destroy anything. Ships had tried to attack it before, and the ships had always lost. The Harvester had never been seriously damaged until now. Victoria ordered her soldiers to attack from 3 different directions at the same time. 8,000 soldiers moved through space together. They moved like one living thing, even though they were many separate soldiers. They were too fast for the Rex weapons to follow. The Rex tried to hit them, but the humans were not where the weapons thought they would be. The human soldiers were attacking the weak parts of the Harvester. They were not trying to hit the strong armor. They were hitting the power generators, the shield machines, the things that made the ship work. The Rex did what they always did. They sent their best soldiers to defend the ship. This was the elite guard, the soldiers that were supposed to be unbeatable. They came out of the Harvester by the thousands. This was what Victoria had planned for. All units, start the second attack, she commanded. The other 4,000 soldiers suddenly appeared on the attack vector. They were not fighting the Rex elite guard. They were going straight for the command tower of the Harvester. The Rex had to choose. They could keep fighting the first group of humans, or they could defend their ship. They could not do both. The choice cost them seconds. Those seconds were all that Victoria needed. The human soldiers reached the command tower. They did not try to break through the doors like soldiers in an old war. They used their armor. They used their weapons. They used the fact that they could think and adapt in ways the Rex could not understand. The armor organisms that were bonded with the soldiers could interface with technology. They could talk to machines in ways that machines understood. The soldiers burned through the command tower's defenses. They broke open the doors. They reached the reactor room. Victoria had given them one command: disable the reactor. The reactor was not like the reactors on human ships. It was based on Rex technology that had been developed over thousands of years. But human soldiers who could think and adapt found the weak points. They found the connections that could be broken. They found the places where the reactor would overload if you touched them the right way. The reactor of the Harvester began to overload. The explosion happened so fast that most of the Rex did not understand it was coming. The flagship of the entire Rex military was destroyed. It was burned up in a white-hot fire that lit up space for 1,000 kilometers. Rex fighters were caught in the explosion. The elite guard that was supposed to be unbeatable was killed. The command that was supposed to control the entire war was destroyed. On the battle station, every alarm system began to sound. But these were not alarms for distress. These were alarms for victory. The Rex ship was gone. The invincible enemy had been defeated. All across the Rex fleet, something broke. It was not a physical thing. It was something inside. It was the belief that they would win. It was the knowledge that they were superior. It was the certainty that came from winning every war for 3,000 years. That belief was shattered. Rex soldiers that had been fighting began to run. The formations that had been perfect and organized started to break apart. The ships that had been coordinated started to fight on their own. The command system that had controlled everything was gone. Patricia Holland was receiving messages. Lots of messages. From everywhere. Species that had been the enemies of the Alliance were asking to become part of it. Species that had been neutral were asking to help humanity. One very old species called the Vareth, who had not been seen in public for 300 years, sent a single message. We must speak with humanity about the future of the galaxy. Victoria Moore sent a message to Colonel Derek Shaw on Station Kepler 47. The message had just 4 words. We have changed everything. She knew it was true. The galaxy was not the same as it had been before. The Rex had ruled through strength and fear for 3,000 years. And it had taken just hours for humanity to show that strength without wisdom was weakness. The Rex were still fighting, but they were fighting without hope. The Alliance ships began to push forward. Species that had lost hope began to believe in victory. The war that had seemed lost just one day ago was becoming winnable. The Harvester was gone. The elite guard was broken. The Rex were learning what it meant to fight an enemy that could not be defeated by force alone. They were learning what it meant to fight humanity. 20 hours after the Harvester was destroyed, the Rex Command Center made a final decision. They had run the numbers. They had looked at the losses. They had calculated the probability of winning. The numbers were clear. The Rex were going to lose this war. This realization was like a knife to the heart of their entire civilization. The Rex had been the rulers of their region of space for 3,000 years. They had never lost. They had never been defeated. They had conquered because they were superior. But humanity had shown them that superiority was not permanent. That strength could be overcome by something the Rex did not understand. In desperation, the Rex commander made a final choice. He would gather every remaining ship, every remaining soldier, every remaining weapon. He would create one massive attack that would destroy everything in its path. It was a gamble. It was a desperate, impossible gamble. But it was the only gamble left. Admiral Kevin Hayes received the tactical prediction from the Alliance Command Center. The message was clear and terrible. The Rex were gathering everything they had left. 14,000 fighters, 112 capital ships, 4 Harvester-class dreadnoughts, everything they had. All in one place, all moving toward the coordinates called the Vex Nexus. Can we win against this? Kevin asked Captain Victoria Moore. Victoria did not hesitate. She did not look at the numbers again. She did not need to. Yes, we will win because we are human. We think, we adapt. We find ways to win when other species would find only defeat. She was not being arrogant. She was telling the truth. In the last 20 hours, the human soldiers had learned things about space combat that would normally take years to learn. They had defeated every Rex tactic. They had predicted every Rex strategy. They had proven that human thinking was faster than Rex calculation. The coalition of Alliance forces began to move toward the Vex Nexus. The humans were in front. 10,000 soldiers in the first attack. 3,000 in secondary positions. All of them ready. All of them prepared. The Rex fleet was arranged in a pattern of perfect geometry. 14,000 fighters in 3 rings around the dreadnoughts. The 4 Harvester ships in the middle, their weapons all pointing outward. It was a fortress design. It was supposed to be unbreakable. It was designed to fight enemies that thought like the VRX. It was not designed to fight humans. Victoria Moore looked at her soldiers. She did not give a big speech. She did not need to. These soldiers knew what they were going to do. They had been born to do this. Go, she said simply. End this war. The human soldiers moved forward. They did not try to fight the Rex formation like normal soldiers would. They did not try to break through the walls of fighters. Instead, they flowed around it, like water flowing around stones, like wind flowing around mountains. The Rex fighters tried to follow them. The Rex targeting systems locked onto the humans. But the humans were moving at speeds that were too fast. The Rex weapons fired at empty space. The humans were already somewhere else. Victoria Moon used every skill and every tactic that humans had invented. She used misdirection. She used deception. She used the fact that humans could think one way and act another way. The Rex could not do this. The Rex thought in straight lines. The Rex acted according to what they thought. Humans were more complex. The human soldiers reached the Rex dreadnoughts in the center of the formation. They did not try to fight the massive ships directly. They attacked the weak points, the power relays, The communication systems. The things that made the ships function. Lieutenant Aaron Crawford led his squad of 100 soldiers to the nearest dreadnought. The Vrex tried to defend it. They sent guards. They sent weapons. But Aaron's squad was too fast. They were too smart. They knew where the weak points were because they had studied the Vrex technology for hours. The dreadnought began to fail. Its shields went down. Its weapons shut off. Its power systems collapsed. Aaron's squad placed explosive charges in the critical areas. Then they ran. The explosion that followed was massive. It destroyed the dreadnought completely. The same thing was happening to the other dreadnoughts. 4 Harvester ships, the pride of the Vrex military, were being torn apart by soldiers who were too fast and too smart to be stopped. The Vrex commander made a final decision. He ordered all remaining forces to attack the human concentration. It was a desperate move. It was the last thing he could do. The Vrex fighters converged on the human position. Thousands of them, all coming at once, all firing at once, but Victoria had planned for this too. "Scatter," she commanded. "All units, disperse and regroup." The human soldiers did not stay in formation. They broke apart and moved in different directions. The Vrex fighters, which were all moving to the same location, crashed into empty space. They shot at places where humans had been, not where humans were. And while the Vrex were confused and scattered, the humans regrouped. They came back together, but in a different place. In a place where the Vrex did not expect them. By hour 23 of the final battle, the Vrex armada was falling apart. Ships were exploding. Fighters were being destroyed. The command structure that had controlled everything was in chaos. Victoria ordered the final phase. Pursuit and capture. The human soldiers did not slaughter the fleeing Vrex. That was not the human way. Instead, they blocked escape routes. They made choices simple for the Vrex. They could surrender or they could die. Victoria Moore sent a message across all Vrex communication frequencies. Her voice was calm. Her words were clear. "This is Captain Victoria Moore of the Human Coalition. Your empire is finished. Your military is defeated. Your ships are failing. You have one choice. Surrender, and you will be treated with respect. Resist, and you will be destroyed. Choose now." For 8 minutes, there was nothing but silence. Then, one Vrex commander made the decision. Then another. And another. The weapon systems of the Vrex fleet went silent. The shooting stopped. The war was over. Admiral Kevin Hayes received the message, and he allowed himself to feel something that he had not felt in weeks. He allowed himself to feel peace. The message went out to all the Alliance. The Vrex have surrendered. The war is finished. Humanity has achieved total victory. The galaxy was saved by soldiers who could think and adapt. By soldiers who could choose mercy when they had the power to choose revenge. By humans who had proven that true strength was not in weapons or armor or power. True strength was in the ability to do what was right. The treaty was signed in a room that had once been a symbol of despair. The council chamber where species had gathered to accept their defeat was now the place where peace was being written. The Vrex representatives stood in the center of the room. They were no longer warriors. They were prisoners of war who had been given a choice. They could face execution for their crimes, or they could accept the terms of peace that humanity and the Alliance had created. They chose peace. Patricia Holland read the terms of the treaty out loud. The Vrex would surrender all military weapons. The Vrex would give up their territories in space. The Vrex would accept rule from a galactic council where they would have equal voice but no special power. They would live under the same laws as every other species, for the first time in 3,000 years. The Vrex were not in control, but they were alive. The real focus of the ceremony was not on the Vrex. it was on humanity. Every species that could send a representative had come. The Arth came. The Karani came. The Zethian came. And many others came. Species that had been isolated for centuries came out of hiding to see the humans who had saved them. Captain Victoria Moore stood at the front of the chamber. Behind her were the Warbeast soldiers. They were still in their armor. They were still magnificent and terrible. But now they were seen differently. They were not seen as weapons. They were seen as protectors. The Arth commander approached Victoria. He was 3 meters tall, and his skin was gray like stone. But now his eyes showed something different. Now they showed respect. You could have claimed dominion over all the galaxy, the Arth said. You are the strongest species now. You could have taken control of everything. Victoria shook her head. That is not what we wanted. We came to protect those who could not protect themselves. We wanted to stop the Vrex from destroying everything. That is what we did. That is all we wanted to do. A murmur went through the chamber. Every species was hearing these words. Every species was understanding what humanity really was. Patricia Holland received messages from everywhere. From planets and space stations and ships. Every civilization wanted to make an alliance with Earth. Every government wanted to have human advisors. Every military wanted to learn human tactics. But Victoria Moore did something unexpected. She turned down most of these offers. Instead, she went back to Station Kepler 47. She and Colonel Derek Shaw began a new program. They were not training new Warbeast soldiers. They were training teachers. Humans from Earth went to stations across the galaxy. They taught soldiers from other species how to think like humans. They taught them how to adapt. They taught them how to believe in themselves even when the odds were impossible. Victoria gave a speech to the first class of non-human students. They were Karani and Zethian and Orth. They were from a dozen different species. But they all wanted to learn what humanity had learned. Strength is not power, Victoria said. Strength is not weapons or armor or technology. True strength is the ability to look at an enemy and see not just an enemy, but a being that could become something better. True strength is mercy. True strength is the choice to not destroy when you have the power to destroy. The students listened carefully. They were learning something that no other species in the galaxy had ever taught. They were learning that winning a war was not the same as winning peace. Admiral Kevin Hayes retired from his command. He wrote a final report that was sent to every government in the Alliance. The report explained everything that he had learned about humanity. The greatest advantage that humans have is not their genetics or their armor, he wrote. It is their ability to imagine a better future. Humans can see suffering and believe it can end. Humans can see enemies and believe they can become friends. This is why humans are unstoppable. Not because they are stronger, but because they refuse to accept that anything is permanent. They believe that change is always possible. Patricia Holland continued as the ambassador from Earth. She watched humanity transform from a species that the Alliance had doubted into a species that the Alliance believed in. She watched trading relationships grow. She watched cultural exchanges happen. She watched humans and aliens learning from each other. But most importantly, she watched peace hold in schools across 1,000 worlds. Children from every species learned the story of the Warbeasts. They learned how 12,000 humans had changed the course of galactic history. They learned about Marcus Coleman and Aaron, Crawford and Victoria Moore. They learned about the Harvester and the elite guard that was broken. But they learned something more important. They learned that strength without wisdom was just destruction. They learned that the greatest victory was not killing the enemy. The greatest victory was creating a future where enemies could become friends. On Earth, in a city called Geneva, Patricia sat in her office and looked out at the stars. She had dreamed of this moment for so long. She had pushed and fought and convinced and planned. And now it was real. Humanity was part of the galactic civilization. Not as servants, not as subjects, but as equals, as protectors, as a species that could be trusted. A message came through the communication system. It was from Admiral Kevin Hayes. He was on his ship, traveling back to Earth. He was going home after 40 years of service. The message was simple. We did it. We actually did it. We changed everything. Patricia allowed herself to cry. These were not tears of sadness. They were tears of joy. Humanity had taken its place among the stars. Humanity had proven itself. Humanity had shown the galaxy what it meant to be brave and strong and merciful all at the same time. The war had lasted just 23 hours, but its effects would last forever. In the void of space, ships of 1,000 different designs moved together. Human ships and alien ships, all working toward the same purpose. All building the same future. All believing that peace was possible, and it was. Because humanity had shown the galaxy what was possible. When you chose to believe in something better than war. The age of the Vrex was finished. The age of humanity had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.